Welcome back to IGN gamescom now. Do you like animals? Of course you do. They're wonderful. Would you like to own a zoo? Of course you do. Well, you sort of can in a video game called Planet Zoo. Here to tell us about it, we've got Bo and Matt from Frontier, and here are my fellow animal enthusiasts, Brian Altano.
Hi.
Let's put on our animal hats.
Ooh, this is great.
Oh, we get to be brother and sister, look.
This is awesome.
So, Planet Zoo is kind of the spiritual successor to the Zoo Tycoon series, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
And this is a thing that a whole lot of people have a ton of nostalgia for. It's really beloved. We've been like right next to your booth, and it's just like charming and endearing. You're rolling like animal footage, which is like really cute, and then there's like a hippopotamus going to the bathroom. Can you talk a little bit about just sort of this whole experience and what you're doing with Planet Zoo that sets it apart?
Yeah, I mean, Frontier is kind of known for revisiting the nostalgic games like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Zoo Tycoon, with Planet Coaster previously, and now with Planet Zoo. So that's exactly what we're doing, and what you're hearing at the booth is kind of the spirit of the game as well. It's lovely, it's cute, it's educational, it's about the animals, it's about conservation, and really getting that feeling of nostalgia back for the players. Yeah.
Right off the bat, I saw something that I believe is canonical to most zoos, which is the peacock is kind of allowed to roam anywhere.
Yes, it's roaming in like in an area there.
Like a communal
it has a little
area,
habitat,
right?
For sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
But we do have options in the game as well where you can have invisible fences.
Oh.
So you can pretend that they're free roaming.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So I wanted to ask a bit about this sort of animal AI, because things have come a long way. Tell me about the animal AI. Tell me how smart these animals are.
Oh, they're very, 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 very smart, but then I would say that. I think they are the most authentic animals that have ever been in a video game, especially the amount of animals have, how they interact with the management aspect of the game. So they all have their own needs. And that means that you have to really design this environment for these animal needs. They have to feel well, they have to feel like they would in their own natural environment. That means you have to get the right plants in, you have to get the right kind of water content, how much grass do they like. All of that is important as you take care of these animals, and they respond in kind. Now, they play more when they're happy, or when they get unhappy, they do a little.
So they get hungry, thirsty, tired, all that stuff.
They have all these needs that you can manage, yeah.
Do they ever try to escape?
They do, yeah. If your animals are in distress, if you're not taking good care of them, or if their habitat is unsuitable, they might try and get out.
Oh, wow.
Or if you're dealing with like cheeky monkeys, like the ring-tailed lemurs or something, they can actually climb on any sort of player-defined surface, like rocks and shelter and stuff. So if you don't place it correctly or strategically in your habitat, they can actually get out.
So I'm curious, this might sort of fly in the face of making a stable simulation, but do the animals have like unique personalities, or is it sort of like a group of animals behaves as one depending on how you're treating them? Like basically, will there be like one peacock that's really mean compared to the rest of them?
There's a bit of both, actually. So the animals are treated like individuals. So they come to your zoo, they will have a little bit of personality, some stats basically, and a name that's assigned to them, which you can change, but we have actually taken care into giving them names that are appropriate to the area that they're from. But yeah, basically they have little personalities, and then when you start breeding them, they'll take the traits from their parents and sort of evolve from that.
Oh.
You can trade with other players as well, so you can increase certain stats. For example, if you have a very angry grizzly bear, you can trade it up for an even angrier grizzly bear and see what he.
So I can raise warrior peacocks if necessary.
Absolutely. But
don't
do it.
Don't do that. A nice game for nice people.
And in terms of the group behavior, there are certain animals that behave in herds, in groups, and they will have an alpha that they follow.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you could essentially have like a whole angry zoo full of angry animals?
I mean, you could. It's not something we particularly encourage, but obviously you can play however you want to play. There's loads of different options for you to delve into. Yeah.
That's great.
Now, obviously, the goal of most simulation games is to make a good zoo. But what happens when things go horribly wrong, or the player is a twisted degenerate? Like how bad can things get? Can the animals will they come out and will they like eat people? Like do animal fights?
You wouldn't have a zoo left at the end. That's basically
that's
all
true.
Your walls would be gone. All the people you hired before to take care of the zoo, they've all quit. They've all gone home, and all the animals are, well, we don't like to think of it, but little dust bones.
Okay.
Oh, no.
I feel like unemployment is a pretty best case scenario for animals breaking out of the zoo.
Yeah.
It's like, there are too many lions everywhere. I quit. I'm out of here.
If you can
Pretty
quit
much.
being the tiger guy before being eaten by the tigers, that's a best case scenario,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. There's definitely fights for dominance. So if you have two dominant alphas in your group, two tigers, for example, because we're looking at the tigers right now, they might actually engage in some sort of combat, and the winner will come out as the new alpha, and the other one will sort of leave with its tail behind its.
And the
What-
thing,
legs.
if I may add, what you can see here as well is we're replacing kind of the right foliage in this environment, which you can research yourself in the Zoopedia that's in this game, where you can get all the information about all the animals, and getting the right kind of environment for them, the right plants that they would find. These tigers like a lot of foliage, because, well, they hunt deer in reality, and deer don't see red, so tigers look green. So in this environment, the tiger would be completely gone to the deer. So that's what they like, and that's a successful zoo, and that's where the management really lies, in getting that environment under control, understanding the animals you have in your park, and making them feel good.
Which they didn't do in Jurassic Park, which is why the Triceratops had that big bad poop.
Now,
He got sick.
can't we
It's
go
true.
20 minutes without you bringing up that scene? Now, you guys learned a lot from Planet Coaster, I imagine, and this has some of the familiar ideas. You've got a campaign, you've got the sandbox mode.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the ideas from Planet Coaster that you've applied to Planet Zoo? Because roller coasters and wild animals have so much in common, I guess.
It's definitely still all about the simulation and the experience for both your guests, and now in Planet Zoo also for your animals, and conservation and education are two very new things in that. I think we've learned a lot from Planet Coaster, we've learned a lot from Jurassic World Evolution that we now have sort of built on for Planet Zoo. It's like bigger and more, and everything is there. So yeah, we've taken the campaign from Planet Coaster, so it's now career mode in Planet Zoo, but we've added a little bit of a story. There's a narrative now, there's characters that take you all around the world. You get
Is it
different
tutorial?
challenges. Yes, there's tutorials, different challenges in different zoos, different biomes. There's so many things that you have to take into account when you're running a live zoo.
But what's interesting, you know, we have the same crowds as we had in Planet Coaster,
Yes.
and as a sound designer, I was like, oh great, I don't have to do the sound for that, we already did it. And then we put the sounds in, and all the people talk like they do here, like really loudly, and you put them in, and you go, this is all wrong. We have to re-record all these crowd noises,
right.
because nobody talks in a zoo like they're screaming over the top of all these rides. So even though it's a lot of it is familiar from the previous games, a lot of stuff we had to do from scratch again to make it work in this game.
Now, when you go to the zoo, sometimes there's like one animal in one area. You know, like the tigers get their own zone, basically. But sometimes there's also just like 6 different animals just hanging out.
Yeah.
Like we live in San Francisco, the zoo there, they have like peacocks running around, and then right outside there's ostriches, and then giraffes all in the same place. Zebras are there too. Is that encouraged in this game to sort of like mix them up a little bit, get a couple of different animals in one area?
Absolutely. We have shared habitats in Planet Zoo, so basically, if it behaves like that in the real world, it's probably going to happen that way in Planet Zoo as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
They actually are happier. Some of the animals
Yeah.
really like being with other species.
It will
Yeah.
enrich them. Yeah.
Oh, it makes sense.
I have to ask, did you mocap any animals for this?
No, this is all done by hand and meticulously looked at animals, lots of video recordings of the animals, but then put everything together by hand to work with all these other systems. Because if you can make your own terrain, your own environment, all the footsteps have to be right?
Oh,
You can't
yeah.
just have them go like this and clip through all the ground. So there's a lot of technology running behind this, making sure they can scale, making sure that they follow the terrain perfectly. The animation team and the AI animation team have been fantastic.
There's,
Getting it right.
there's a very dedicated designer who has studied about 500 YouTube videos about animal poop, because all the poop has its own physics.
All the
So-
poop has its own physics.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Print that on the box.
Max and I have studied 500 videos of animal poop, and we've never turned it into a job. So that sounds amazing.
A lot of people, I think, would love to take pictures of the animals. Do you have a photograph mode in this?
We support Ansel, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Awesome. How many animal species are in the game, and do you guys have personal favorites?
Ooh, we have many more than 50 animals,
Wow.
species in the game, which is the official answer at the moment, but there's lots of animals. I don't know, favorite animals.
You have a favorite one?
The cheetah. I do
Cheetah.
love the
See, this is a
cheetah.
good one.
Yeah.
Shout out to cheetahs. It's been nice being one for the last 7 minutes.
This is a good one. You guys have mentioned conservation work. I know that zoos for some people are sort of like a hot touchy subject, because some of them are like they do a lot of good conservation work, and some of them are just like, you know, cash grab animal jails, which is awful. Can you talk a bit about sort of how that comes into play here?
Yeah, in the franchise mode. So franchise mode is a mode where you build up your own zoo with your own animals, and you were explaining earlier how when you breed animals, they take the DNA of the parents, so they might get a bit bigger or they live a bit longer, and these animals you can exchange with other people that have their own franchise zoos and do what real zoos do, which is conservation, and make sure that there's species diversity, DNA diversity, and that's basically what we're simulating with all the players that are going to play the game. They can already test that in the beta.
Great, and you guys have, you just put up a pre-order trailer, you've got a beta on the way, right?
We do, yeah. It's coming on the 24th of September, and you can play it all the way through to the 8th of October. You have to pre-order the deluxe edition before that date or during those dates, and then you can get your hands on with that right away, yeah.
Have any zookeepers played this game, or people who like work at zoos? Have they come to you and been like?
We have them on the booth. We have
really?
quite a few people that come forward and say, "I work in a zoo. I'm so looking forward to this.
That's awesome.
I want to play this."
Absolutely, and we have the in-game Zoopedia, which is like our sort of encyclopedia for all the species that are in the game. And we worked really closely together with a lot of zookeepers all over the world to make sure that the research is correct and that all of the animal needs are adjusted to the species. And basically everything is supposed to be 100% how it's supposed to be in Planet Zoo.
I love that. That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
And it's always a bit tricky doing an interview when there's clearly like a diehard community out there. You guys have a YouTube channel where you've been doing kind of very open videos. Can you talk about that for a bit?
We do, yeah. Our YouTube channel is @PlanetZooGame. That's everywhere. But yeah, we do anything from gameplay reveals. So we do like demos where we show the gameplay with our developers, and they come on and they give like really in-depth stories of how the things came to be. We also do some developer diaries where you can get a look behind the scenes at the studio. So yeah, there's loads to figure out there.
Cool.
Well, that's awesome. I've got to say, like reading the comments on Planet Zoo videos, they're all really positive and lovely, and it's such a bizarre change of pace from some of the stuff we're used to. So thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Gamescom itself is kind of a zoo, and coming up next we have something that is possibly the polar opposite of what we just did. It's blasphemous. It is a terrifying, nightmarish hell ride of a blood feud. Let's check that out in a bit. But first, let me take these off. We got to take a break.
I'm going to wear mine all day.
Good.